Lynette asked Seth softly yet sweetly. Why are we taking this way? I'm sure it will be nightfall when I make it home, Lynette said jokingly. She also liked Seth. If walking the long way home with the boy she admired was what they were doing, then she was perfectly fine with that. Seth looked at her starry-eyed and said, Well, I would like to spend as much time with you as possible, however. If you are in a hurry to start your chores, we can always turn around, Seth told Lynette. Lynette was drawn to Seth's pervasive respectfulness, which extended to the young women he favored and everyone else. In addition, Lynette had multiple motives for wanting to evade returning home. Following the communication exchange with Seth where he used the word chore, she couldn't shake it from her thoughts and knew that upon arriving home, there would be more than tasks on her plate. She began questioning if this night might turn out to be her last one alive. As Lynette returned home from school each day, her father would greet her outside. Despite fulfilling all the household chores and duties to perfection, she was still subjected to harsh punishment if anything remained undone. Fearful for her life after being threatened by her father with death should she disclose their secret, Lynette kept quiet about these horrors even when in conversation with Seth. Her mother's passing during childbirth left a deep-seated resentment within him toward his daughter, whom he perceived as responsible for taking away the woman he loved most dearly. While walking together one day, though Lynette realized one book was missing among those cradled safely against herself. Oh no, said Lynette in a faint tone. She immediately stopped to look around to see if the missing book was close by. Seth instantly replied, What's wrong? It seems as if I have dropped one of my books. From school, Lynette told Seth as she continued to look around for it. Seth also stopped, looked behind them, and spotted the book lying a few yards behind them next to an oak tree in the woods. Oh well, there it is, I'll go fetch it for you, Seth said to Lynette as he pointed in the book's direction. Lynette instantly replied, I have 2 legs just. Like you, I'm more than able to get it myself. After lightly jogging to where her book had vanished, Lynette was suddenly seized by 2 anonymous hands that yanked her toward a tree. Covering her mouth and brandishing a sharp object against her throat, she let out an ear-piercing scream, realizing danger loomed large. Seth watched horror-struck but immediately sprang into action on seeing what was happening. It transpired that Lynette had been ambushed by an escaped slave from one of the neighboring estates while the fugitive tried escaping his predicament. However, as soon as he detected Seth's presence looming nearby, the slave hurriedly stepped forward, challenging him in defense mode. The fugitive, still holding Lynette by the neck, wielding a sharp object, yelled at Seth, If you take one more step, I will kill this girl. The slave said, as he kept looking in every direction. The slave was aware that he was being pursued by individuals who hunted for slaves and could be nearby. Sounds of dogs' barks grew nearer, causing him to accept his imminent capture. Seth made a conscious decision to retreat so as not to jeopardize Lynette's safety. He stopped abruptly without any further movement or dialogue. Meanwhile, Lynette remained fearful about her fate, but complied with the orders given by the slave. She abstained from making any noise since even a slight sound might betray their location once they heard snarling canines and approaching footsteps nearby. Seth stared at Lynette closely as she mouthed him the words, I love you, I'm sorry. Seth looked at Lynette with confusion as he tried to figure out what she meant. Lynette screamed to the top of her lungs, and the slave who bounded her instantly stabbed her in the throat. He quickly threw her to the ground and ran back into the woods to escape. Nuo, yelled out Seth as he ran to his wounded love. Kneeling down, Seth gazed upon Lynette's motionless form. Clutching her tenderly in his embrace, he raised his face to the heavens and let out a heart-wrenching cry filled with grief and fury. It dawned on him that she had left this world for good. The girl who meant everything to him was no more. This realization shook up Seth's perspective of life at once.